Alright guys, welcome back to the show. Next in line, 2003 Suburban. You can see I've already started some disassembly. You guys don't need to watch me do this kind of stuff. Bumpers off, rear gates off, inner panels off the rear gate. And let's see, I think the camera will get that. This one's not too bad. This one's actually pretty clean. Just starting inside the lip here above the hemline. We'll clean that rust out and a little bit of stuff around there. That's corrosion. The rusty stuff was off the bolts that came out that hold the door latch in. Somebody's already painted over this once, so it's been repaired once, and it was not repaired by me. You can see, still see some pits in it where they painted over it. The treatment this one is getting, it has this passenger side, the front of the fender on the rear quarter, or the wheel opening on the rear quarter. This was all bubbled out. I bashed it in. It's full of rust and dirt. There's actually foam in there. Somebody's bitching about my videos. I stand in the way all the time. Well, sometimes they end up being a vlog, not a how-to. So we're going to cut this off. It's also all crapped up underneath there, you can see. We're not doing rockers on this truck yet, but they're damn near ready. This one might be leaving the fleet, so we're fixing the real bad stuff right now. Even though that gate, you know, it's on the inside. About 4 hours on my life. I wish I could get back trying to pull this frickin' running board off. There's the brackets. It's tight quarters in there. AC lines run on the inner rocker, and it's hard to get your hands up in there, and the fasteners were all shot. So there's that. She's laying on the ground, ready to go back in once I get this mess done. So first things first, today we're going to change that panel out. There's the new one laying on the floor right there. Oh goodness, make me bend down to get it here. There's your part number. That's a mill supply part here in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know where they get them from, but this is made in Guangzhou, Taiwan. But it fits nice. So first things we got to do is, I'm going to open the door here. We're going to start by doing some exploratory surgery. And we're going to cut some of this out, basically cut a window in it, to see where I'm at. I really don't think I want to section this in up under that body line, but we're gonna have to take spot welds out. Boy, it's a dark in here. There's only like 4 or 5 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not one there, and there's one there. There's 5. There's 5 more on the outside, and there's 3 on the bottom, so there's like 13 spot welds in this. But let's go ahead and cut this open just so I can see inside there. I have no disillusions that I'm going to cut that patch down and try and section it out here. It's just not worth it when I can drill 5 spot welds and be done with it on the inside. I'll get you guys on the camera stand here and get you set up, and I'll bring you back momentarily. I got to go flip the air compressor on and get the cutoff wheel ready to go and all that stuff. Sorry, I'm bouncing you guys around. I need to get a GoPro for the up-close action shots on this kind of stuff. I mean, this camera will zoom way in and I can get a good look at it, but alright, we'll bring you back. Alright, there you go. focus is not a mocus. Hold on a second. There's your foam. That's where she's rotted real bad. Up in this area right here. This is all clean back here, and 85% of that's clean, but you start getting down toward the bottom, which would have been this section here. This was starting to rust, and I guarantee this bottom is laying full of rust. I mean, it's already full of holes and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill a couple spot welds for you guys on camera, get you the idea, and then I'll finish taking the panel out. One thing you got to do, there is seam sealer right here. You need to take a utility knife and hold it tight against the panel you're going to throw away and cut it away, because I don't want to break all this paint over here on the rocker if I don't have to. I mean, I can blend some paint in there, that's not a problem, but I'm going to use a rechargeable drill. There's regular drill bits, and there's a spot weld cutter for you. It's got a little pilot bit. These come with a regular drill bit, a short stubby one in there, but this one has been broken, so I just put a little chunk of a drill bit and put a point on it. So I'll go along all these spot welds, like you can maybe see just above my fingertip there's an indentation. I will take like an 1/8 inch drill bit and just put a little dot in there so that it will center this when I go to cut it. The other thing you can use that grinder and sit here and go back and forth across the welded spot and just thin that metal up, and then take a chisel and break it loose from the inner panel. Let's see if I can even set you guys up anywhere where you can even see what the heck's going on. One of my biggest problems in here is light, and I don't have much of it. Yeah, that's looking pretty rough, but let's see if you can see anything there. I'll do one of the ones that's up a little bit higher first, because these other ones I'm probably going to end up grinding off because I don't have any room to get the drill in there. The key is to get it sort of centered. So all I want to do is just make a little dot in it right there, something to hold that spot weld straight. We'll be purchasing a dedicated spot weld cutter in the future. But I'll just show you, this is a Blair rotobroach style. These work really pretty well, but one's pretty dull. Still doesn't like to stay centered. So maybe be reverting to the grinding method. Close. This is why I don't like using this style spot weld cutter. It just takes forever. I don't know if we're through that panel yet or not. We gotta be close. see if it pops it loose. You guys get the idea. You can see there, I guess it's in the top of your frame. Well, we got all this sealer in here. And she's loose. So that's basically what I have to do, is go around all of them. I will cut it loose up there, but I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch me do 15 spot welds. So I'll bring you back. Alright, don't be alarmed. I didn't skip ahead without you. I just shoved this panel up here to see how close my fit was going to be. So spot welds are off. I am going to have to cut it higher, but I always cut less, and I suggest whenever you do one of these, you cut way less than you think you'll need. Basically, fitment areas to be concerned about when you get this up here are this body line here, which lines up with the rocker. So we'll set it up there. They kind of flare the ends of these out so that you can do this. I pulled the old panel out and broke the seam sealer off the bottom. I'm going to throw a couple clamps on it. We'll see what you guys think. I think we're almost ready to go here. We'll have a little bit more to cut out, but shouldn't be too awfully bad. Just getting a sort of a final rough idea. There's one there. I'm just throwing a couple clamps on it. I know we're probably out of the frame here, but I want you guys to sort of see what's going on. And then we'll go ahead and show you what it looks like up close behind this baby. Okay. Gingerly close the door to make sure I didn't mess anything up. Now, of course, it's sitting out farther because it's sitting on top of an old panel. We're pretty close on that body line there. We're pretty close here. I need to go up and in just a little bit. If you look at it from the side here, it's still sticking out a little. I don't have it tucked all the way up, and I had to trim just a little bit. You can see some shiny metal in there, just so that will suck in tight where it needs to go. So what I'm going to do next is just keep massaging this thing. These are aftermarket, so I'll probably nibble a little bit more of this repair panel out in there, sand it back with a grinding disc, and you can see we need to go back in just a little bit more to hit our old paint line. The bare steel looking stuff is where the original panel was on there, so we're close. And I'll take a Sharpie when I get it close, and I'll mark across the top of this, because that's the most this panel can cover. And then we're going to come down 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch and make another line, throw a piece of tape up on the side of the truck and cut the old rust out a little bit higher, and then this will be ready to go in. I am not MIG welding this across the top. I'm going to panel bond this across the top, okay? So I'll bring you back here in a minute after I've got some more fitment, and I'll explain what I did and how I did it. Also, I'm going to unclamp that real quick. I want to show you guys what it looks like behind this thing entirely if you didn't already see it. It's not... Oh, there it is. Now, we've got rust here. This pinch weld here, this area will be cleaned up. Weld through primer put on it, because I will plug weld these, and I will plug weld inside the door and the 2 or 3 on the bottom. So let's take a close up here. Kind of rushing around here trying to get this in so I can clamp it and be done with it for the night and walk away and do body work tomorrow. I mean, it's rusty on the pinch weld and it's rusty in here, but that'll clean up. and get weld-through primer, it'll look almost like this. The zinc rust through, or weld through, yeah, rust through primer. Well, fuck, it'll probably rust through it too. But here is what the bottom looks like. That all has to be cleaned up. I will use a rust wheel here and on the die grinder, grind all that off, neutralize it, and put some zinc weld through all over this stuff, and that'll be rust protected as much as it can before I weld. And then I will come in through the back of the rocker and spray an inner panel rust preventative in there, which I will show you hopefully later on. So we'll bring you back here once I cut some more of this out. Alright, so you guys are saying, well, come on Velvet, how did you get to there? Well, trial and error, but basically if we're going to do a panel bond situation, I still need to tack these corners, couple tacks and a couple tacks right there. So see, we've got a straight line coming out into the jamb. That's so that that corner, which it pulled out, I'm not holding it up tight, I don't have it pulled in there, and I got a couple other clamps just kind of holding it up so you guys can see the idea. You cut it out. Hopefully that glare isn't too bad. I gotta tap in a little bit on it so that you can make this body line match. And you'll zap a couple of tacks there after you clean all this foam out, back to about there, and get it clean, guys. Don't mess around with that shit. It will set you on fire. Here there's no foam, but again, we're maybe 6 tacks to get around the corner. The rest of this whole seam is going to be panel bonded, and you're saying, well, why don't you just MIG weld it all the way across? Well, I can glue this with panel bond, put sheet metal screws in here to clamp it, come back and feather the filler down. I got to cut my edge down. I'm a little tall on this. I only need about 3/4 of an inch bond line. But then that's it. Yeah, you got a piece of 20 gauge sheet metal to blend in, but I can blend that in easier than I can dick around spotting welds and then grinding all those welds down and then filling all that. This is a one-step thing. You grind this, panel bond it, screw it, blend the filler in, and you don't have all these welds way up here that are hard to get any corrosion protection in. The corrosion protection is built into the panel bond. I keep saying panel bond, panel bond, panel bond. What's panel bond? This is what panel bond is. This is the kind that I use. Fuser 110B. Go to Lord Fuser's website, look it up. All the instructions are there. But basically, work time on this stuff is 5 to 8 minutes. Full cure, 4 hours at 70. Not 78, not 85, 70. So it doesn't need a lot of heat to cure, but it can't be in a 40-degree shop. It probably won't cure. So, according to this, you can paint your part in 4 hours. I've done this before. This product, I've used it on several things. Some of them I've taped for you guys, some of them I haven't. This works good for me. It's still not a lot of welding to really have to do over here, but I'm trying to eliminate too much extra work for myself. I don't really like to weld that much, although I could. I mean, I could go right across this sucker, right to here, but the other thing is, they didn't give me a lot of extra on this panel, and I'm going to be right down to this body line too. So either way you do it, it really doesn't matter. This is just my preference. There's a lot of foam there. We're going to get it away from there the best that I can so that I'm assured that I'm not going to set this thing on fire. I'm going to weld these corners tomorrow morning. We'll panel bond this tonight and keep it clamped. But first things first, we got to get the rust off behind it. So let's go ahead and take this thing off. We're going to use the rust wheel. We're going to clean that up. And we're going to make sure we're good to go. Body lines match up nice already, so I'm happy. Just want to get all this corrosion out of this seam and off the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rust wheel to that real quick. I say real quick, it isn't going to be real quick. Probably take 10 or 15 minutes to prep that and get 95% of that cleaned up. Dust mask and eye protection, that sort of thing. Alright, all the corrosion has been cleaned up and rust and whatnot. Got some weld through primer on there. It's this kind. This is Eastwood's brand. They happen to open a store up for Eastwood that's pretty close to me, and I went there the other day just to snoop and ended up picking up a can of this, see how this stuff works. It's a little cheaper than the 3M stuff and the SEM brand, so there you go. You just spray a couple of coats basically where we're going to weld, and these are just going to be plug welds and all that, but basically cleaned up the back of the panel. These things are in EDP primer, electro-deposited primer, so they're pretty good to begin with, but I went ahead and put a coat on the back side. All those holes are for the plug welds. Actually, there's a couple extra because some of these trucks have fender flares on them, and there was already holes there, so we'll leave those. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. I'm going to get this thing clamped up and show you the final fitment that I got, and then we're going to go ahead and get some panel bond on that bad boy and get her put on there. So no real magic here by any means, but the other thing I did was I left this seam at the top here where that's going to be panel bonded. I masked it off. You don't want any weld through primer where that panel bond has to go. I've got this clamped real quick here, but it seems to want to be pushing it out of position. So what I may have to do is go ahead and get the panel bond on it and screw it up into here where it needs to be. You guys will get the idea. Okay, I'm going to end up having to hold that bad boy into place just to show you. Yeah, set you on the tire camera stand here for a second. Oh, now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna grab the camera. There you go. That looks like a big gap, but I'm having trouble holding it and showing you at the same time. Body line's good at the door. So we'll bring you guys back in a minute when it's time to panel bond this. Alright, I got some sheet metal screws in there to get my final fitment and get it up tight, just to make sure that we're good. I'm going to take it back off, and we'll get some panel bond on there and get her dead. I even put one in the jam to pull this corner tight. It's going to get a plug weld in it anyway. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera here, but sometimes it's a good idea to get your fitment before you get panel bond on it. This one fought me a little, not too bad. Now, I had somebody leave a comment the other day that says that this method looks pretty hokey. Well, they use this stuff to glue pickup bedsides on, and quarter panels on cars and things like that, so there's no reason it is not an acceptable repair for this kind of thing. Now I'm going to get those burrs off of the back of this real quick, but I'm going to go ahead and put a bead on here and make sure that it covers this whole area. It should squish out and cover it, but we don't want to have any mishaps. Also, before you bond this, make sure that you haven't touched this with your greasy hands or anything like that, so that you know you have a good bond. Now the camera's focused on the repair area. I'm going to squirt a little bit of this panel bond adhesive through the mixing tip and make sure that it's mixing right. Now this stuff has glass beads in it, which give you a certain bond thickness. It'll only let you clamp it so tight. I have way too much on that panel. That is probably twice what you need. But I was going to brush it around, and now I'm thinking I probably don't want to do that. I'm going to put some large diameter fender washers on this thing too, to sort of give us a little bit more clamping force. Sort of spread that load out a little bit. ahead and tighten these down. I believe that door will shut without hitting that. I'm gonna get crazy with them. I'll go along and tighten those up by hand, but basically that's what you got right there. She fits tight. Body line matches up. We'll get that clamped and let that cure, and then I'll come back and I'll get these areas welded up. Alright, here's the process kind of after welding. I'll show you what I got. This is all the mortar you're going to be able to weld. There's no need to weld this bonded seam here. When you're dealing with old rusty metal and you think you got it clean, sometimes you don't have as much clean as you thought. There's a plug weld that ended up, come on camera, focus. Ended up being a blow through on the back panel. That's a piece of MIG wire hanging through the back. Ended up having to sort of stitch going that way just to get a tack onto the metal. It is welded here, so it's good, but there's the plug welds. And then remember how I said I was just going to stitch a couple tacks around here. Oh, it looks like I need one more right. Can you see it? That's a pinhole. I got to tack that. But I tacked up to there, and that's the start of my panel bond. And the same thing here. I started grinding. I forgot to turn the camera back on, but before you go jumping all over me here and telling me, oh, well, you got holes in it there, those holes are sealed all the way around with that panel bond, and I'm going to squish fiberglass filler through them. You cannot weld these after you've panel bonded, because it'll just contaminate the weld and it won't weld right. Same thing here, welded around the corner into the jamb. If you look at that little swoop there, that's matched perfectly with the indentation in the factory panel. Put it right down. Nobody cares what it looks like in here, but it'll get ground flat and the body work will get done. And then 3 plug welds on the bottom. That's it. So I'll get these welds ground down. We're going to use that guy right there, little 4-inch angle grinder, but before I do that, we're going to use the cutoff wheel and take it like this across those welds and knock the high spots off of them. Alright, I'm not going to videotape that. You're going to get the idea. That's how I do them. You could watch me weld and grind all day long, but this is a kind of how I install one of these panels. I'm not here to show how to use a welder or how to grind welds. If you want to see that, go back and look at some of my older videos. I can't make every video that's a start to finish exactly how to use every tool in the toolbox. You have to kind of build on your knowledge. So if you want more knowledge on how to use the welder and do those things, go back in my older videos and you'll find it. I'll bring you back. Alright, welds are all dressed down. Again, don't worry about those holes. The Duraglass is going to squish right through it, and when I spray the back side of it with rust preventative, should be good to go. Press hard on that first coat. Get it in those scratches. You got that prepped up with a 36 grit roll lock disc. And put fiberglass over it on the first coat, because we're pretty close to, I don't know what I was going to say. We need to make sure it's good and strong. And you're probably thinking, God, you're going to have to put a shitload of filler in that. Not really. You probably have to taper it up to here a little bit. Not too bad. I don't even care really what this fiberglass looks like, because I'm going to hit it with a piece of 40 grit and knock it flat. Clean that snot off my body line there. Put a little something in here to blend over the weld where I put the two together. Alrighty. Excuse me, I'm going to block your view here for a second, but that's it. That's all I want in there. You see how far that's tapered up? That's about 2 inches away. Nothing crazy. That's why I like to wear gloves doing this, and of course I was in a hurry to grab the camera, as usual. Alright, there you guys go. That's what she looks like. Looks like a good body line matchup to me. Alright, we'll knock that down and finish up the body work. I may or may not bring you guys back for that. We're running out of time. We'll catch you in a little bit, or we'll catch you on the next one. Alright, I got carried away. I got right onto the lightweight filler after you guys saw me put that fiberglass in there. Jeez, it's up to super zoom. Now, you don't have to strip that E-coat off of this, but I did because I had so many cut-throughs on it. I just decided to strip it off. Well, there you go. There's your body line right there. Right to the door. Looks weird in the door, but at any rate, it's on the money. Or it looks weird on the camera, I should say. This is all I'm going to do on the inside of this door besides seam seal. I put a little fiberglass where that light is bad over those welds. All this is sanded with 180. The filler and the area to be primed is 320. But that's what you get. I can smear a line of seam sealer. I put a piece of masking tape, maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch. We're not quite covered there. There's still factory sealer on that, but everywhere else we're covered past the sealer. So I will just put a tiny little bit in there. I'm not even going to take this rubber off. I'm going to tape it way back with some duct tape, because we have to seam seal this gap down through here, and we'll just put a soft tape line on the outside of that. But I had a couple doinks back here. These I didn't even bother pulling because they're under the floor level inside, and I didn't want to risk setting anything on fire in there, and I don't know what's behind it. They were so tiny. I tapped the crown down around the outside, and that's all you got out of them. I mean, that's paper thin. This one right here was a pretty good one, but I was able to get to it from the back side and push it out, and that's all you got out of that one. And then anytime I get these in, don't have mud flaps on them. They're all chowdered up and stone chipped. So strip that back with some 80 grit and then 180 over the steel when you're done, and 320 up to your edges, feather them back. Oh, goodness, half an inch, an inch, far back as you can get it. Feather the paint layers back. that should be it for this one. Next video will be some primer. I'm kind of scrambling to get this done. It's a week before Christmas, so I want to get this done and keep moving. So I apologize if things seem kind of scatterbrained, but that's what I can do for you. So we'll catch you on the next one.